A dramatic turn in Europe's longest and bloodiest conflict. Ukraine's president says Kyiv is prepared to give up its long-standing ambition to join NATO, a move once considered non-negotiable, in exchange for binding Western security guarantees aimed at ending the war with Russia. The statement comes as Ukrainian, American, and European officials converge in Berlin for high-stakes talks that could redefine the future of the conflict. For years, NATO membership stood at the core of Ukraine's national security strategy. Now, President Volodymyr Zelensky says legally binding guarantees from the United States and Europe could serve as an alternative shield against future Russian aggression. He described the shift as a compromise, one made under pressure, but aimed at preventing another invasion. Instead of NATO's Article 5, Kyiv is seeking U.S.-led guarantees that mirror collective defense obligations, along with commitments from European allies, Canada, and Japan. Zelensky stressed that these guarantees must be enforceable, not political promises, to hold real weight. Zelensky's big announcement. From the very beginning, Ukraine's desire was to join NATO. These are real security guarantees. Some partners from the US and Europe did not support this direction. Thus, today, bilateral security guarantees between Ukraine and the US, Article 5-like guarantees for us from the US, and security guarantees from European colleagues, as well as other countries, Canada, Japan, are an opportunity to prevent another Russian invasion, and it is already a compromise from our part. Russia has also pressed for territorial withdrawals and formal limits on Western military presence, the conditions Kyiv continues to reject. The talks in Berlin include senior U.S. envoys and European leaders, signaling Washington sees a narrow opening for progress nearly 4 years after the invasion began. Officials say a multi-point framework is under review, with a ceasefire envisioned as the final outcome. The diplomatic push comes as U.S. President Donald Trump urges a rapid settlement. Ukraine has insisted a ceasefire along current front lines could be considered, but any deal that forces Ukraine to surrender additional territory remains unacceptable. Russia, meanwhile, continues to demand full control over contested regions still held by Ukrainian forces. As leaders meet behind closed doors in Berlin, Ukraine's decision to pause its NATO bid marks one of the most consequential shifts of the war. Whether security guarantees can replace alliance membership and deliver lasting peace now becomes the central question shaping Europe's future.
Big Russian snub to Zelensky amid Trump's peace efforts. Putin rejects Zelensky's Donbass referendum call. Kremlin taunts Zelensky on holding polls in Ukraine.
It's quite possible he'll view this as an opportunity to simply secure a temporary ceasefire, and that's all.
Russia has rejected Volodymyr Zelensky's proposal to hold a referendum on territorial concessions to Moscow. Vladimir Putin's presidential aide, Yuri Ushakov, called Donbass as a sovereign Russian territory, adding that Moscow will sooner or later establish control over parts of the region still occupied by Kyiv. Zelensky had suggested that Ukrainians could vote in a referendum or election on the Donbass issue. Whatever happens, this is Russian territory, and it will be under the control of our administrations sooner or later. Putin's aide claimed that Zelensky had so far opposed the withdrawal of Ukrainian troops from the region, despite this being among the U.S. proposals for peace. I think what happens afterward can be discussed later, because it is quite possible that there will be no regular troops there, neither Russian nor Ukrainian, he told the Russian Daily. Zelensky, who has rejected accusations of using the ongoing war as an excuse to cling to power, said he was ready to hold elections.
We are ready to work with President Trump in any format. And if President Trump is speaking more about elections in Ukraine, I want to say this very openly. We can try to hold elections. Ukraine is not hiding from democracy, but to make elections possible, there must be a security component, and America can help with this the most. If there is a need for elections now, there must be a ceasefire at least during election process and during voting, and this is something that must be discussed. And honestly, we think here in Ukraine that America should speak to the Russian side about this.
Zelensky has resisted pressure from Donald Trump, who has consistently flip-flopped on his stand on war ever since being re-elected to the Oval Office.
I thought that we were very close with Russia to having a deal. I thought we were very close with Ukraine to having a deal. In fact, other than President Zelensky, his people loved the concept of the deal. You know, we threw something out.
This is a four-part deal.
Well, there's 4 or 5 different parts. It's, you know, a little bit complicated because you're cutting up land in a certain way. It's not the easiest thing. It's sort of like a complex real estate deal times 1,000, right? But it's a deal that would have stopped the killing of thousands of lives every month. Thousands and thousands of lives, mostly soldiers, but as you know there's some bombs being dropped.
Earlier, the White House said that Trump was extremely frustrated with the lack of progress on Ukraine peace efforts, adding that Washington could send representatives this weekend.
The president is extremely frustrated with both sides of this war, and he's sick of meetings just for the sake of meeting. He doesn't want any more talk. He wants action. He wants this war to come to an end. And the administration has spent more than 30 hours, just in the past couple of weeks, meeting with the Russians and the Ukrainians and the Europeans and speaking with them as well. So we'll see about the meetings this weekend, and stay tuned.
A major sticking point in Trump's Ukraine peace proposal is the suggestion that Kyiv must give up control of the Donbas region of eastern Ukraine to Russia. Ukraine and its European allies have firmly resisted the idea of handing over territory.
Es gibt einen Vorschlag, den zu dem Zeitpunkt, wo wir telefoniert haben, noch nicht kannte, weil noch nicht an die Amerikaner übersandt worden war. Das haben wir dann gestern am späten Nachmittag gemacht. Es geht hier vor allem um die Frage, welche territorialen Zugeständnisse die Ukraine bereit ist zu machen. Das ist aber eine Frage, die vor allem der ukrainische Präsident und das ukrainische Volk beantworten müssen. Das haben wir Präsident Trump auch verdeutlicht.
American negotiators have put forward the possibility of a free economic zone in the Donbas, with the Russians terming it a demilitarized zone, according to Zelensky. On the other hand, Russian President Vladimir Putin told military leaders that Russian armed forces are fully holding the strategic initiative on the battlefield. Russian troops have taken the city of Seversk in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine, where fighting has been fierce in recent months, Lieutenant General Sergei Medvedev told the president.